Hey, soul survivors, we're going to talk about the effects of cortisol on the body. So, narcissistic abuse doesn't just break your confidence, it actually rewires your biology. So, every insult, silent treatment, or explosive outburst can push your body into survival mode, and it was never meant to live long term like this. So, over time, that stress doesn't stay psychological, it actually turns into becoming chemical. So, how does narcissistic abuse raise cortisol? This is your brain's main stress hormone, and it's released through the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, also known as the HPA. And under healthy conditions, cortisol rises during a threat and falls during the times of peace. So, narcissistic abuse creates a threat that never ends, and you'll have unpredictable cycles that trigger chronic fight or flight. So, narcissists use patterns like love bombing, sudden withdrawal, gaslighting, devaluation, explosive reactions, and stonewalling. Your brain can't predict the next emotional hit that it's going to get. So, this uncertainty is biologically interpreted as danger, keeping the HPA axis continuously activated. Gaslighting disrupts your brain's threat monitoring system. So, when you are repeatedly told that your reality is wrong, your brain increases vigilance to compensate. And this creates hyperarousal, which continually elevates cortisol. So, emotional volatility trains your body to stay alert. Living with a narcissist often means monitoring tone, reading micro expressions, preparing for a backlash. This vigilant is the same system the brain uses to detect predators. And over time, cortisol stops functioning as a temporary response and becomes a baseline state. You'll have intermittent reinforcement, and that is biologically addictive. The unpredictable reward punishment cycle stimulates both cortisol and dopamine, kind of like that high that you get. And that's from the dopamine. The brain becomes trapped in a loop that mimics addiction. It can be stressful, thrilling, unpredictable, further dysregulating the stress hormone. So, health impacts of the chronically elevated cortisol. Long term high cortisol changes everything from your immune system to your memory. It's one of the reasons that survivors often say, I don't feel like myself anymore. So, here's what the science shows. In the brain, there's a hippocampal shrinkage. The hippocampus is responsible for memory and learning, and it shrinks under prolonged cortisol exposure. Symptoms can be memory issues, confusion, difficulty focusing. Now, the prefrontal cortex becomes impaired. This region will regulate judgment, decision making, and emotional control. You can have symptoms of brain fog, poor decision making, and emotional overwhelm. Also, the amygdala overaction activation. This part becomes hyper reactive, increasing fear responses. The symptoms are anxiety, panic reactions, exaggerated startle reflex, and it'll also have an impact on your nervous system. This high cortisol will force your nervous system into sympathetic dominance, meaning that your body stays in survival mode. These symptoms are insomnia, restless sleep, constant fatigue, hypervigilance, difficulty relaxing, even emotional numbing or shutdown. And within your immune system, the damage there, cortisol suppresses immune function. So you can have frequent illnesses, slow healing, chronic inflammation, autoimmune flare-ups, cardiovascular strain on your heart. It elevates your heart rate, your blood pressure. The risks that you can get are hypertension, heart disease, arrhythmias, which is like irregular heartbeat, increased stroke risk, and also your digestive and metabolical issues. It disrupts your digestion and metabolism. So you can have IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, going from diarrhea to constipation, also nausea, appetite changes, abdominal weight gain. They always say cortisol, stress causes belly fat. Also, insulin resistance. That's part of why you gain the weight. Um, Hormonal disruptions. High cortisol interferes with sex hormones, thyroid function, reproductive hormones. You can have irregular menstrual cycles for women, low libido, which is sex drive, thyroid dysregulation, and infertility challenges. It can cause problems, possible miscarriage, or problems getting pregnant. Long-term psychological consequences. When you had that chronic cortisol is linked to anxiety disorders, depression, trauma bonding, complex PTSD, also known as CPTSD, emotional dysregulation, feeling on edge, even when the relationship ends. So, survivors often feel better after leaving, but why? When the narcissistic stressor is removed, the HPA axis finally has a chance to normalize. Cortisol will slowly reset. The nervous system will shift away from constant survival mode and the body begins repairing. For many survivors, the clarity, calm, and energy they feel afterward, it's not just emotional relief, it's psychological healing finally taking place. So, how long does recovery take? And the best ways to lower cortisol is recovering. It's not always linear, it can have ups and downs. It's not always fast to heal from this, but it is possible. And understanding cortisol helps make sense of why healing takes time. So, how long does this recovery actually take? Most survivors, according to research, they start to notice some emotional and physical improvement within 3 to 6 months once they're out of this toxic environment. But for deeper recovery, rebuilding trust, nervous system regulation, and emotional stability, that can take 12 to 24 months, up to 2 years. People who have experienced long-term abuse, childhood trauma, or repeated cycles of manipulation, this healing can take several years, but hang in there. This isn't because you're broken, it's because your nervous system was trained to live in survival mode. Cortisol patterns don't reset overnight. Our body needs to learn what safety is. So, the most important point, the best evidence-based ways to lower cortisol after narcissistic abuse, fastest method is nervous system regulation. Your body heals when it shifts from fight or flight to rest and repair. The most effective tools that lower cortisol within minutes are the slow diaphragmatic breathing. You inhale for 4 seconds, exhale for six. Count it out. Inhale for 4, exhale for 6, and hold your breath and then let it go. Grounding exercises. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sensory identification. What am I seeing, tasting, feeling, hearing? And also vagus nerve stimulation. Even just humming, singing, a cold splash on your face will reset that vagus nerve. That's why whenever I go swimming in the lake, it's like the cold water splash. It resets you, and it definitely helps. These techniques directly downregulate the amygdala and calm cortisol output. Ritualize sleeping patterns, kind of keep a system to it. Cortisol is deeply tied to the sleep-wake cycle. Go to bed at the same time every night to help you out. Limit blue light 2 hours before sleep, so such as computer or phone screens. Give yourself a break so you can reset and get some sleep. Avoid doom scrolling, arguments, or emotionally triggering content at night. Consistent sleep is one of the fastest biological ways to reset adrenal function. Also, trauma stable movement. Starting to get sick, guys. Not all exercise lowers cortisol. Overly intense exercise can raise it. So pay attention to that. So if you're trying to lose the weight, sometimes you cause more stress on your body. And trauma recovery, the best form is just walking, cortisol, Pilates, light strength training, and dancing. These reduce cortisol by improving circulation, releasing muscle tension, and lowering inflammation. No contact or low contact with the narcissist. Cortisol spikes every time the survivor receives a text, hears their voice, or anticipates a reaction. Reducing exposure dramatically accelerates recovery. Nutrition that stabilizes hormones. Foods proven to support cortisol balance include omega-3 fats. Those are found in salmon, walnuts, flaxseed, magnesium-rich foods, spinach, almonds, dark chocolate, vitamin C, such as berries and citrus, complex carbs, oats, sweet potatoes, but avoid high sugar, excess caffeine, and alcohol. These trigger the same stress pathways that narcissistic abuse will activate. So avoid high sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. Therapy focused on trauma and nervous system healing. The most effective modalities are CBT, EMDR, somatic experiencing, and also trauma-focused therapy. These directly retrain the body's threat response. I also do one-on-ones if you guys would like some coaching to help accelerate the healing. Just leave a comment, but also safe and supportive relationships, being around consistent, non-reactive, emotionally healthy people. This will help lower your cortisol, rebuild trust, normalize your sense of safety. It won't feel like the whole world's against you. Healing happens in safe connections. The opposite happens with narcissistic chaos. So the truth about recovery, cortisol doesn't stay elevated forever. Your body wants to heal. Your nervous system wants to balance. And once the source of the psychological threat is removed, your brain will slowly rewire itself back towards stability. With the right tools, the right support, and the right boundaries, recovery moves faster than most survivors expect, and life begins to feel peaceful again. And I promise it does happen. I do have a community that I will post in the comments that I'd like you to join for free. It's just a support group, and topic requests are always welcome. One-on-ones are available. Please share if this will help someone.